Hello, Internet. My name is Aqua, and welcome back to the RWBYcast, which is what I'm calling it now, I guess. And once again, joined by Rebkos.
Heyo!
Still pointing over this direction just because it's just what I do at this point. So that was an episode.
Oh my god! Yay!
I don't even know. I know where to begin because the episode begins at a place, and that's a good place to start.
I mean, even, like, this, alright, so this is gonna be me back to being a total geek, but even the opening second and a half of this episode, can we just appreciate those leaves?
I actually saw a lot of people on Reddit talking about that.
Yeah,
and
like, that is a pristine shot. Like, there's that just brief moment where you go, is that an actual picture? And then you realize, no, that's computer generated, and it's like, that is clean. Go animators.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. And even going back to like Volume 4 opening shot, there was still a lot of trees, but people were mentioning how they're still kind of like blobby looking. This was just like, this is trees. This is how trees work. This is a forest.
And like that, I mean, we set the bar of the episode from the get-go, and it only went up from there. Starting with leaves. This is just gonna, like, this entire episode is going to be me gushing about leaves and Barbara's voice acting. Like, that's what this is going to be.
That's
You're welcome,
totally
Internet.
fine. Dude still has no tooth, of course. which is I don't know. There's some shows that I've watched that like they don't have that kind of, it's like, you know, they have the tooth missing for a gag and then it's like back later or whatever because it's a main character. But in this case, it's there. Well,
and they even fit it into the dialogue of, I'm
I
paying you back for this tooth, and it's later, like, set up. I do really appreciate that in this bit he is not, like, normally if you ride on the back of a motorcycle with someone, you put your hands on their waist, and Yang is having none of that. It's like, no, you may sit on the back of the bike, leaning away as far as humanly possible.
I noticed that as well, and I very much appreciated that.
Though I do want both of them wearing helmets.
Yeah, which is weird because Yang has a helmet.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, we've seen her use it. She's not anymore. This is Yang.
She's being dangerous and rebellious.
Sniffy.
She's like, oh, I have a prosthetic arm. I'm sure they can give me a prosthetic forehead. It's like, no, hun. No. Put your helmet on.
Or
anyway.
Fine. She has no forehead. Don't worry about it. So... One of my favorite moments of animation in this episode, aside from the entirety of the bandit fight, is just Yang pulling down her sunglasses and just shaking her head. Like, that was just so...
It's like, oh, I'm so disappointed in you.
It's so perfect. It conveys everything so well.
Barbara retweeted that little bit, and she said, I'm just going to use this as my reaction gif for every time I need to roll my eyes from now on.
I didn't see that, and I was like, yeah, that's fair. It works very well. It's like the most that emotion that I've ever seen come across in any kind of animation.
So one of the things I noted throughout this episode, and again, I said I'm just going to be gushing about Barb, is how beautifully deadpan all of Yang's reactions are to everything. She's not getting overly excited. She's not getting overly angry. Like, she is here to do a job, and she is not interested in your sass or bullshit right now. And she fully recognizes that she's getting bullshitted and that a trap is coming, and now she's going to have to deal with it. And this was not in the agenda, but it's like, all right, fine. Let me literally take my gloves off and stretch and get ready for this nonsense.
And butt capes.
And butt capes. Yeah, that was a little odd. I didn't know what those were.
You know, anime.
But yeah, just everything about Yang in this episode is amazing.
And that new kind of attitude that she's adopted is like really showing like how much she's grown and like learned from Tai, because like Tai's been talking to her about all this stuff for this entire time and been training her. And boy, does that come through in the entirety of this episode.
Yes.
And
I mean, we saw... I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying the fight coming up is just like, well, we'll get to that, though. Don't worry.
Yes. But, like, Yang Volume 1 through, like, 2.9, because we kind of start saying this at the end of Volume 3, she is punny, she's upbeat, like Yang doesn't take anything seriously. And then we see her broken, angry, and depressed and kind of shut down at the end of Volume 3. And then Volume 4, she's just kind of depressed and sad and coping and not really... Like, we don't see Yang anymore as we've known her. She's just completely defeated. And then suddenly, we have yet another Yang here. This is not upbeat, punny Yang from Volume 5. I'm kind of wondering if we're gonna see a pun from Yang again. Like, that will almost be like she has recovered from her PTSD when she starts making puns again. Like, that will be the cue to the audience. And instead, like, it's this take no shit, bitter sarcasm that we started to see a little of at the end of Volume 3 when she snaps at Ruby. And
I feel like that other, like, jokey side of her is still in there, of course, but I mean, she's on a mission right now and like needs to be kind of just like stone faced for this. As soon as she sees Ruby again, she's just gonna like melt completely. But
maybe?
I mean, we don't. Maybe, but like, I mean, it'll be really interesting to see her reaction because like she's not fully recovered, obviously.
No. Yeah, I mean, we're constantly seeing the handshake thing, which seems to be somehow tied into anger or maybe even semblance activation. And just, like, she is still not okay. And she's just gonna fuck everyone's shit up. And I bet Barb was having a blast in the booth doing these lines.
Oh, absolutely. And she absolutely knocked out of the park, like you're saying. But
oh, yeah.
In fact, this entire episode, like, everybody on this team just absolutely just crushed it. Like, this was an amazing episode. But next up in the scene, we have Yang deflecting a bullet with her arm, a robot arm, Boing! Which is, I don't know why I didn't think about that being a thing. That's a very effective, tough metal she's got on there that I'm sure they use for weapons and everything else.
I also like that we all got to hear the gun cock. Like, it's completely there. It's very soft, but you hear the and then Yang just kind of looks up and is like, oh, here we go.
It's like, this is the start, I guess.
This Wonder Woman gauntlet bullet deflecting. It's great.
And then we have all the bandits coming in and being like, oh, okay, we have all the bandits coming in. They're being like, oh, you fucked up. And she's like, is this everyone? She's like, yeah.
Yes.
It's like, well, the rest of the camp's back that way. She's like, that way? And she's like, yes. It's very
and it's like, oh, what did I walk into here? This person doesn't seem to be
worried. Yeah, it's like there's 8 people surrounding this person. She doesn't seem worried at all. I think you should be worried. She just
seems bored.
A little bit.
It's like
I need to get on with this. You know, like my mom's like right there. Like, come on. And the thing is, you know, she probably could save a lot of time with this and just be like, yo, I'm Raven's daughter. Whether they believe her or not.
And she's not afraid to drop that, because she does it immediately after the fight's over. But it's almost like she has just some energy and emotions we need to work out a bit.
Probably.
Possibly so that she doesn't just like haul out and deck Raven as we walk into the camp. It's like, no, I'm going to thrash your boys.
Because we do see her handshake.
We're going to have a discussion.
We see her handshake before the fight, right? Am I remembering that correctly, or is it only after?
I want to say it was after. I would have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it was after.
I think it is only after as well, actually. So,
according to my notes, Twitchy Yang is twitchy, and I put that at the end of my notes on the fight. So I'm going to go with end.
Yep, that's a fair point. So then we have all the bandits talking. He's like, "Oh, we're gonna take your bike. You're gonna take your lumps."
And she didn't really react to the "we're gonna take your bike." Like, I was kind of again. I was expecting more of. Well, yeah, but I was also kind of expecting more of a classic Yang moment of like messing up her hair or messing with her bike is just going to set her off, and instead,
no. This is new.
We're
Yang.
just getting, this is new Yang, deadpan. I'm just going to fuck you up and move on with my day.
So as they're talking about all this stuff and be like, "Oh, we're super scary," she activates one of Emperor Celica. And
they're like,
"Oh, we didn't see that coming. Okay, this is still fine. Don't worry about it. We got this. And the guy keeps talking.
Numbers.
It's like, this is, just don't worry about it. And then she activates her gun. And they're just like, oh shit.
It's like
that's bad. She's like an official person. Okay.
Yeah.
Which I was kind of curious about what the bandits were thinking at that time, because they all had a very audible gasp when that happened, which was amazing. But there's also the fact of like, they have to know this is Atlas tech. They probably recognize it
as Atlas tech, and then the second the gun comes out, it's Atlas military tech.
Oh, that's a really good point too. It's like, and this person has some high end stuff and probably knows a thing or two.
Yeah, it's like the guy with the gun collection, and he's got his musket from the 1700s, and then you walk in the next room and he's got a P90, and you go, oh, okay,
yeah,
yes.
So then we have the fight start.
And I want to also point out the fight's beautiful. And again, the details on the bandits. They've got weapons which are also kind of dual form. They're very much like knifey gun things. They don't seem to, I don't know that we saw any of them transform, but it was like all of their knives are also a gun, but they're also very clearly hacked together. Like this is a band.
And
dirty makeshift. I think literally like a couple of them were held together in tape in places. Probably, and it's like, these guys, they think they're tough shit. They built their own weapons, and then no. But again, it's just a beautiful, subtle detail on them that they don't have the best weaponry. All they have is their gall, and it's not going to go well for them.
Which comes later, actually. But first, I just wanted to talk about the animation of the fight itself, because this is one of the fights that's like closest to Monty style that I've seen, as far as the flow of it and just the use of motion, and everything is just so spot on. Like, and this is also a very good showcase of Yang's new fighting style, which is much more conservative than we've seen in her in the past. She usually goes in for big charging shots, which she does one, but
and then it turns into this beautiful gymnastic move that even the Russian judge can't put down. Like,
I don't even know what to call that. I'm sure my friend who does gymnastics and twirling and all this stuff would know what that move was called, but
I don't know. I'm sure Brian Boitano can do it. It was a lot of
spins into a punch, which she actually then, this is the end of the fight, but she actually uses the momentum from her spinning to then come around one more half turn into a punch. So like literally every single little bit of momentum that is created by her, she uses, which we haven't seen something like that for a long time, I feel like, and it was just absolutely beautiful.
And I'd have to go back and watch the scene again even more closely, but There's a major complaint I had about Yang's punching style through probably volume 3 and 4 heavily, where anytime she punched in the animation, her hands would be weirdly turned out so you could see all of her fingers, and it was just a very unnatural, this is not actually how people box or hold their fists properly. Like you saw it very clearly in volume 3 after she punches Mercury in the leg, of just her hands in this weird, awkward, like, I don't know, kangaroo position. And that's just, it's not how people fight.
Do you mean at the full extension of her arm it was turned?
No, when she's got them cocked and back towards her, they really should be turned so that there are either fingers into her or maybe thumbs pointing towards her. And instead they were these weird, completely rotated out little raptor arms.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like the, what is that? Krav Maga, I think, kind of has that kind of thing going.
Sometimes, but even then, that's usually a more different hand pose situation.
I don't think it's Krav Maga. It's something else.
For a boxer, it's bad.
Yeah, definitely.
And so it didn't look like we had that nearly as much, if at all, in this fight scene. No, and so they may have gone a new fight choreographer who has a better understanding of how a fight's supposed to go, and is fixing the little subtleties of how the hand should be turned out.
And it could also just be that, like, that's part of Yang's growth. Like, part of her fighting style was doing that, but it's just not right.
I mean, hope it was never part of her fighting style.
We don't know how long Taeyang exactly was training with her, but it was long enough that she was able to take out these guys with like just completely effortlessly, and there was no extra movement really at all throughout the entire thing. And that's very different from her past fighting style. Like the best example I can ever see is, it was the best example I think of her style is the Yellow trailer still, because it's like a really solid like person v person fights,
and that's just really punch all of the things.
Yeah, and we could really see where her strengths and weaknesses were in that, even as well, like with the whole kicking thing.
Yep.
Speaking of which, she was kicking a lot, which is not normal for her as well. But like there were some moments where I can't remember specifically. It was something like she dove over somebody's head into like a ground spin kind of thing on her back, and then just like swept his leg.
She did this like cool breakdance move and like flipped a bunch of people.
Like that was when I saw that, I was just like, hold on, that's Yang. Yang's doing that. That's not normal. So that was really cool to see. Like just such a good showcase of like how far this character has come, both just like mentally and physically in this scene.
And how far the animators have come. Like everyone has made, both in and outside of the show, people have made tremendous growth, and it's just awesome to see.
There was something that somebody mentioned on the subreddit. I can't remember who it was because my original notes got destroyed somehow. But somebody was saying that revolvers don't jam. I don't know. I'm going to defer to you because you know more about guns than I do. And even so, there's an explanation in that it could be dirty or whatever, but
yeah, so revolvers are much more reliable. Like a semi-automatic handgun is incredibly easy to jam. There's a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of moving parts, which is how it works. Like it's a beautifully engineered piece of hardware in that it is capturing the recoil explosion of a bullet to go into all of these spring-loaded mechanisms to absorb the recoil for you as the operator, and then also to load the next bullet so that you're ready to go again. Mm-hmm. Revolvers, when you pull the trigger, the bullet explodes accordingly, and then all of that recoil goes into you because there's no moving parts, there's no recovery. Depending on the revolver, if it's a single action or dual action, you either have to grab the hammer, pull it back, and then you can trigger again, or you just have to yank on the trigger. So there are some moving parts, and if they get, and even some springs, but a much more limited degree. Well, I guess even some probably don't have springs. Some of them are probably just straight up mechanical. But they can fail, but it's much more unlikely. Like a lot of police officers will have their backup gun will be a revolver. So they'll have
that.
Yeah, like they'll have their usual service pistol on their hip, and then maybe they'll have a small revolver like in their boot or something. Just because if something happens and you absolutely need to fire a gun, you're gonna have more luck and guarantee with a revolver. You're just gonna have less control on it because of that recoil.
So if the spinning mechanism was jammed or something, like that's a part of the trigger pull, right? Is it the
So again, it depends on whether or not it's a single action or dual action. So if it's a single action, you have to pull down the hammer to instigate the revolving chamber.
Oh, okay.
And then when you pull the trigger, the hammer is released. If it's I'm probably getting this backwards, but I believe if it's a double action, the act of pulling the trigger causes the hammer to go back and causes the barrel to rotate and then causes the hammer to come back down. There's like a lot of things going on simultaneously.
It sounds like it, yeah.
And so there are absolutely mechanisms in there that can fail, but with a semi-automatic handgun, they are much more precise and precision. And while I would not recommend experimenting, there are some recommendations for protecting yourself from someone with a semi-automatic of literally just reaching down, grabbing the slide, and shoving it towards them.
Yep.
Because the chances of the gun successfully being able... Yeah. The chances of them pulling the trigger and the gun actually going off are actually pretty low at that point. Just with very little displacement of the slide.
Yep. So then the hammer can't move.
Because then nothing can move. And if it does go off, there's even a chance that it's really just going to explode in their hand. Like, semi-automatics are fantastic for maintaining control. Like, I personally only ever use a semi-automatic handgun because I cannot maintain control of a revolver. Like, I do not have the upper body strength to deal with the recoil. And so me with a revolver is just dangerous because I set the gun off once and then God only knows where the gun's pointing. But meanwhile, I can sit there and maintain control of a semi-automatic. But that's neither here nor there. But yes, they can jam, particularly if they're ill-maintained. And frankly, as we were talking about earlier, all of these weapons are clearly very makeshift. They probably don't have good gun cleaning oil just laying around.
Not.
These things are probably full of dirt, and there's probably a question of how often they even use them.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah.
Like, it may be this hasn't been fired, and it fired once.
It did.
And that's
it.
That may be it, because now it's jammed because the dude's been sleeping it with it in his boot, which is full of spiders, and...
Got jammed by spiders. That's my new headcanon.
There we go. Jammed by spiders. Title of the episode.
There you go. There's some information for you about revolvers and such.
Yes.
So yes, this scene was all amazing, and it was a great reintroduction to Yang's new kind of thing she's got going on. But then we go to the next scene where Ruby and Oscar, Haven in the Mountains training montage. Boop, boop, boop.
Can we please get a bloody lip from someone? We've even admitted that Oscar, his aura wasn't activated, and he just got decked in the face.
Hard enough to send him flying, yeah. I don't know.
Hard enough to send him flying. At this point, we can calculate this.
I feel like at this point, we've established that people are a little bit more hardier than normal. They literally
have thicker skin because no one's allowed to get a bloody lip or a bloody nose.
No one's allowed to bleed unless they get stabbed or their legs cut off. Like, come on. That's the world we're living in. Any sort of blunt trauma, you're not going to bleed. Any stabby, yeah, sure, a little bit. Not going to animate it, of course.
Just a little
bit. No blood dripping or anything.
I mean, I'm not asking for like spraying out of the neck, jugular stuff. I'm just talking about like we sit up and like maybe touch our lip and look at our hand and there's red and we go, oh.
That's volume 8. Don't worry.
That's volume 8.
It's volume 8. We're gonna get a bloody lip.
Volume 8, episode 1, and it will be the bloody lip. Like that's the title. You're welcome, Miles and Carrie.
We get a nice little training montage of the second time we see Ruby really training in hand-to-hand combat. The first being in Yang's short. We've seen her try to fight hand-to-hand, but it hasn't worked at all.
Oh yeah, she just gets knocked out immediately.
So we have something really odd that I kind of noted was that we have Ruby, who has been fighting for, she's 16 at this point probably. And when did she go into Signal? I mean, Crow was even training her before then, so she's been, fighting for however many years at this point, mostly with Crescent Rose. But she's still on the same skill level as this kid who's like never done this before, but is like slowly gaining, muscle memory and everything. But
yeah,
it's just odd to see like how bad she really is. So she's really good at dodging. She's very fast, which makes sense because that's her semblance. Even without her semblance, she's like all over the place and very nimble.
We saw in volume 2 how bad she is at this, where like the White Fang guys have captured her and you give her a little benefit of the doubt because she just fell 30 feet down a hole, but she like punches the guy and she might as well be a little old lady because it's just like boop, and he goes
nothing. Nothing, which is weird because she can hold that fucking giant scythe. You'd think she'd have some at least strength. Like there's a point where it's like, if you have like all of the muscles, but you don't know how to punch right, you're still gonna punch a dude out. Maybe you're gonna do some damage.
I mean, it's like, and there's rules of like you make a fist a particular way. If you like tuck your thumb in and punch something, you're gonna break your thumb.
Yep.
So it's entirely possible that Ruby is kind of aware of how a fist is supposed to be, and then she punches and then hurts her hand and goes ah.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's just
It was very interesting because I also noticed that she was getting off balance a lot, it seemed, or at least especially one punch she like goes in for it and like overcorrects, and even when Ozpin takes over later, she's like a bit off balance and everything, which I'm curious if that's just something about using Crescent Rose too much, because she has this counterweight always that she's relying on, and it's like she went in for the punch and then remembered she has no counterweight, so she can't spin around.
I'd noticed the off balances, but I hadn't really thought about it. That's a really good point. She is probably reflexively trying to fight the way she's used to, and that's throwing her. I very briefly took up fencing in high school, and I constantly was having a problem where I accidentally sidekicked a couple people. Yeah, no, it was bad. But it was just kind of my reflexive reaction of someone is rushing towards me in a fight, and I would take a step back and I would sidekick them. Jesus. And then I would go, oh God.
God, Reb.
What? But yes, I can't. It's like I have my sword and I'm not using it.
It's like Weiss is fighting Weiss and suddenly she gets kicked and it's like, what? This isn't something I do.
Yeah, but yeah, speaking from personal experience, switching fighting styles can be very difficult, and you are entirely correct. She is probably very used to that balance, and that I can rush forward and I can lean like this, or I can do this movement and then recover accordingly. And she don't got that right now.
Yeah, it was just interesting because like she punched and then her recovery was to like use her arms. Well, she flailed her arms, but then when she started falling forward, took a step, and then like immediately spun around as if, you know, she was just fighting like normal. So she still has those instincts of like to move in certain ways, just not that balance. And that was something
and overshooting and over and correcting.
Yeah, that was something that I thought about on my 5th watch through. If you want to know how many times I watched this episode, how much I liked it.
I have rewatched the end of this episode a lot. I didn't rewatch the beginning so much.
I've watched this full episode, I think, 6 times now.
Very nice.
This is the day after the episode came out that we're recording this. I just want you to know. So I'm at the beginning of the week. There's going to be a lot more viewings coming up. Don't you worry.
There you go.
But then we have Oscar punches Ruby in the face.
Yep.
And he's just like, oh, like, I didn't even think about it, which is that muscle memory coming in, which is really
and
cool
then we
see,
get
actually.
like this brief, perfect moment of pissed off Ruby looking at him like, I'm gonna kill you.
Like, yeah, you're done, dude. And bam, right in the face, knocks him down, shows. For one thing, I just thought about actually mentioning the thing where she was like way weak earlier. She can actually like punch a dude. I mean, the dude is like, you know, half the weight of the White Fang dude she was trying to punch, but she punched him pretty good, and he actually like flew back. So she's
enough
making
to bloody
progress.
his lip.
Apparently not. But whatever. And then we get the thing from Ozpin about you didn't do your aura, and then we get the whole thing about aura stuff.
And then
which
Ozpin
is amazing.
Kicks her ass.
And then Ozpin just destroys her completely, no problem.
Can we also appreciate that there was at least a couple camera angles that were just kind of overtly Mortal Kombat side-scroller like battle shots? And it's like, this is fun.
I didn't really think of it that way, but you're totally right, yeah.
We need the scores up in the corner to show you how well we're doing.
One camera angle that I took issue with when Oscar goes for the jump fake into a kick. Like, I had to rewatch that. Like, I watched it through 5 times, and then I had to rewatch that specific scene, like, probably 3 more times to figure out what the fuck actually happened there. It was just, like, it was a little bit too close onto the legs, and I just, like, couldn't really tell. Because I couldn't tell if he, like, fake like still like went through the punch or like did a kick or what. I just couldn't tell what was going on. That's like the only gripe I have about this episode, really. And it's pretty small.
That's a pretty low gripe.
That's called nitpicking.
Yeah. Then we get to the second half of this scene, which I was less on board with. I don't know what your thoughts were, but I was kind of a little turned off by it.
Really? I like the information that was contained within it at the very least.
I like the information, but I do not like the way it was conveyed, particularly the music. Like in the previous scene, we got a really beautiful musical piece that kind of had this cool cowboy Spanish vibe going on of like we're almost dancing while going into a fight at the OK Corral type thing. Mm-hmm. And then when the music starts for the second half of this scene, it's this weird after-school special vibe where we're like...
It's a little campy.
Yeah, and Nora comes in and goes, it's hard to know when you know. And it's like, are we talking about sex and drugs, or what are we discussing here?
No,
and it's like, well, when you reach a certain age, your semblance becomes active. And it was like, what
it was
are we
pretty
doing?
much that, yeah. But
it was, but it was...
I saw a lot of people talking about this, actually. I didn't have an issue with it personally. I realized that it was a little, like, not like the rest of the show's music necessarily.
Yeah.
But it fit. And it didn't feel like Ruby, but it fit.
It didn't, and it was this weird exposition scene that we were telling Oscar what the audience already knows. Like, some things were clarified a bit, but for the most part, there was no new information. We were just...
Wait, what?
Telling Oscar.
There was some good information in there.
Yeah, all of it was stuff that could have been inferred up to this point, except for, like, struck by lightning, didn't die crazy Thursday.
But
like,
yeah. I mean, just finding out that, like, your semblance can be either triggered or you just find it over time, like, that's something we never really knew about before and just kind of had to speculate on.
I mean, it got
the fact that Aura takes concentration at first, like, and the fact that it takes concentration at all, that could explain why Ying's arm got cut off and why Sienna Connor was just able to get insta-stabbed. Like, she just didn't have her aura up, and Yang didn't have her aura up in her arm or whatever. And it could still just be a thing
I'm just
Adam,
taking too much of this information as, like, yeah, I inferred that is probably true, so you're just confirming what I know.
It's
with
more
this weird after-school special music.
Things that can be inferred from it. Not necessarily things about, like, in the past. It's like, oh, yeah, it's like that makes sense, whatever. It's something like the personalities are possibly connected to semblance in some way.
But even that was almost Ren just, like, reading off the Reddit thread of, like, some people think that it's tied to personality, or that personality is tied to semblance, or that they're just not connected at all. It's like, yes, those are kind of the three options there.
It's true, but I mean, it's essentially saying that they are connected, because why would they mention it otherwise? So I feel like that's something that, I mean,
it's hard to know when you know.
I feel like I was just thinking that, like, if it is, I mean, this is stuff like you're saying it's been speculated for a long time, but I mean, it's just giving a little bit more confirmation to these small theories. I like Ruby theories a lot. I like spent a lot of time on the wiki speculation house forum, just looking at stuff. I used to, at least. I haven't been doing it recently much, but I just love these, like, tiny little details that fit into these theories that I've been working on for a long time. So I've got a lot of theories, like, that are just fine.
I don't know.
It's just general story stuff. I love world building and shit like that. So when we're finding out about characters' powers and more about how the world works, I'm just geeking over that.
I would have been fine with the World of Remnant that got all these points across.
Somebody did mention, it's like, Ren, this isn't a World of Remnant, come on.
Yeah, like, if we want to do official Ruby after school specials where we can talk about, like, learning about your semblance and the changes in your body as you get older, like, that's fine. But this just seemed really weird.
It was a little strange, but I didn't particularly find it out of place necessarily, and I still enjoyed it. But as Ruby says at the end of the scene, let's get back to it, as we cut back to Yang in the camp. And by doing that,
we go back to Yang.
So we don't get bloodied lips, but we do get bruised faces.
Yes.
Which is nice. So I meant to go and back look for it. I didn't have enough.
Bleed.
I didn't have enough time. They bleed on the inside, which is way weirder than I was expecting that to come out. But it's true. That's what bruises are. If you didn't know, it's kind of fucked up. Anyway,
it's hard to know when you know. So we're marching through the camp, and Yang is being escorted by some very unhappy looking individuals who, kind of probably like our Toothless Bandit, know that they might be in a little bit of trouble here. But we'll provide you an escort. Please don't have Raven kill us.
Okay, I remembered what I was going to say. Okay, so I meant to go back and look at the fight to see if the bruises matched up to where they actually got hit, but I didn't have enough time to be that nerdy. So maybe Editor Aqu will do that for me. I don't know.
And he'll put it in here. Or not at all.
We'll see.
Perfect. So we're marching through the camp, and then Dumb and Dumber leave the prisoner behind, and we see that Weiss hasn't cut herself free, but now we get to learn why, and it was because she was actually really clever, and she was quietly tunneling out while no one was paying attention.
Mm-hmm. Which I very much appreciated.
Yes, that
intellect, because that's something. It's like she's always been the intellectual type and whatever, but we're seeing that come into play now in a real world
like
scenario.
She
so that's really cool.
easily could have immediately cut herself free and then tried to go busting out, but no, she was like, no, I'm just gonna pretend that I'm, hands are tied in front of me just for a little while longer. And then burrow our way out and then spring free. So that was very clever planning on Weiss's part, but plans only survive first contact with the enemy and all that sort of thing.
Oh yeah. And something interesting that I noticed on my fourth watch through is that Vernal seems to know Yang, perhaps? She seems to have some kind of familiarity because when she sees him, it's like, oh, okay, yeah. Well, this is happening.
Yang and Raven look a lot alike, so it could be that Vernal might have been aware that Raven had a daughter, and then this chick comes charging in, and it's like, oh.
Well, I have some theories about Raven's semblance that I want to talk about later, but we'll get to that in predictions and shit.
Okay.
So she's walking up, Yang walks up, looks like a badass. And her hands start shaking as soon as Raven comes out, pretty much.
Raven is caught off guard by all of this, and she spends the next several minutes trying to regain control and failing because Yang is having none of it. And it is beautiful.
Well, it was very much a thing of Raven thought, it's like, oh, she's here because she wanted to find me all this time, because she knew that, she was looking for her this entire time.
I don't know if it's even that. I think Raven is genuinely surprised to see Yang here.
It didn't quite seem that way to me.
Well, but she launches into all of this benevolent crap of you were patient, determined, and strong, and you met your goals of reaching me. And
to me, it kind of sounded like that was a planned out speech almost, honestly.
Yes and no. Yang just marched in having thrashed all of her guys. Raven comes out with her mask still on, so they're literally, her emotions are masked for a good little break while she's like, oh, Yang's here.
Yeah.
Okay. And then she launches into all of this nonsense about peace through strength and whatever, and how great everything is. And Yang just stands and stares at her, and then she's like, well, okay. And effectively her authority has been challenged by the fact Yang is here and bossing her around, and she keeps trying to get that back and just isn't succeeding. And then finally it's like, take her away. I'm not winning the political war right now, so go lock her up. That's more convenient.
And it also seems like she's almost acknowledging Yang's strength at this point, because she's like, hey, you should join me because you're fucking awesome now. You're a total badass. You should join me. And
which again is also a great way of saving face of, oh, you thrashed all of my men, but yes, because of this show of prowess, you may now join us. And it's like, I don't want to join you, bitch.
Yeah. Also, going back a little bit, Yang very poignantly says mom rather than Raven or mother or anything else. She's just like,
and it's
mom.
So again, this was just perfect delivery on Barbara's part of just she's saying it almost as an insult. Oh, hi, mom.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I just kind of can't believe. Can we just take a second and just realize the fact that Yang just met fucking Raven? We got to that point in the story now.
And it's almost anticlimactic because volumes ago, it would have been Yang is so excited to finally find her mother.
Well,
and now it's she doesn't have time for this bullshit. She's got things to do. Raven, make a portal, bitch.
I think Yang at some point said, I don't even know how I would react if I met her. I don't know what I would do. So I'm really curious as to how she would react. I think it would probably be a lot more nice. Like she might like actually stay for the night and just like leave or whatever. But in this case, it's like, yeah,
to talk to Raven and would want an explanation for her and would want to. It would almost be a Yang wanting to have this moment of, let me show you how strong I am. Let me show you how good I am. Why did you abandon me? Let me show you that I'm good enough for you.
And she Raven, just gets rid of all those emotions that she has and just like give me to my sister.
All of her baggage associated with Raven just is, it's part of old Yang and it doesn't matter anymore. And she has a single thing in mind right now, and that's getting to Ruby and protecting her sister because the world's gone to hell and she doesn't have time for her mom.
Yeah.
Because fuck her.
On my first watch through of this, when she was like, you can take me to Ruby, I was just like, I didn't even think about that. I wasn't even thinking about the reason of like why she's going after her necessarily. But like when she said that, I was just like, you're amazing. Like
suddenly everything made so much more sense of like, oh, that's a brilliant plan. Yes, also, do that.
Every single shot of Yang just like standing and just like waiting for something or talking to somebody, she just looks like a total badass.
Yeah.
Like she has come so far and it's just completely changed, and it's incredible to see that.
She's not reacting to the nonsense.
Cool.
Yeah.
She's so cool. She might be my favorite character now, honestly.
That was kind of some of my reaction to this of like, normally I'm like, well, Blake's my favorite character. And it's like, even like, especially in Volume 4 as well, like my favorite scenes in Volume 4 were hands down, I'm terrible. But they were hands down Yang sequences. Like she had less screen time than any of the other 4 main girls in that volume, but every Yang scene I absolutely adored. And right now we have not changed that.
Like they've been handling her character so amazingly. Just everything that we've seen from her, especially Volume 3, post Volume 3, I should say, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, she's not just like, up and ready and just back to the same old Yang. She's completely different now.
Yeah.
The amount of times you see that in a show, especially for a main character, like main character. Hey, she got her arm chopped off and she has a robot arm now. That doesn't usually happen for main characters. And like she's... Or
if it does, they weirdly bounce back really too well.
And this is, she's had months to recover at this point, and she got to the point where she felt comfortable going after Ruby, but she's still not okay.
Yeah, like we're still getting the hand twitch.
Like, it's just so mind-blowing to see.
There are so many layers to Yang's character right now, and it's just great.
And this is something about the show that I've always loved. It's like they know where these characters are going and everything, and like they're displayed as humans. They're not like these, bigger than life people that can just like take on anything and bounce back from whatever. It's like, these kids, I mean, they were kids and they went through some real trauma. Like getting your arm chopped off is not something most, 17-year-olds are doing. And like they're just showing
not
like
by a psychopath for sure.
They're so human. It's crazy. Like they just are written like real people. It's so nice to see that they're handling this character the way they are.
One other subtlety in this bit that I want to point out, and this kind of gives a shout out back to Volume 4 as well. Bernie had made a comment about when voicing Tai Yang, he had been looking at how Barbara was delivering lines and doing the efforts of like the with the punches and whatever. And he had been basing his delivery based on her with kind of this preconceived notion that, well, Yang's fighting style is probably based on Tai Yang, so chances are he should kind of sound like her.
Right.
So there was a line delivery in this, which was you've got one for Dad, one for me, and one for Crow when talking about the portals. And the way the line is delivered very much feels like a Tai Yang delivery. Just the inflection points and the meter on it. And I'm kind of wondering if when the commentaries on this come out, if Barbara makes some comment about, and I base this delivery off how Bernie was delivering lines because I'd been hanging out with because Yang had been hanging out with Taiyang for months, and so her speech pattern has even been modified a little. And it's just like, how many layers can we go down in this?
Yeah, I don't know if that's like super props to Bernie for just like, going back and like making sure that they seemed, like they were as close as they are, or if like what you said it is. Either way, like they're nailing it for sure.
They really are.
So speaking of the portals, we find out exactly how Raven's semblance works. Well, not exactly. We find out that she can bond to people, and then she can get portals for them. Yep. Which is, like you said, one for Taiyang, one for Yang, one for Crow. People in Reddit, a lot of people were speculating that she also had one for Vernal to get back to the camp, which makes sense. Because how are you going to teleport somewhere and then not go back to your home?
I mean, we didn't.
It away.
I don't know that we specifically specified what she's allowed to bond to. Maybe she has like her favorite rock that she carries along with her. Or there's always these conspicuously placed birds, so maybe we can like bond to a bird.
I think I think Yang specifically said people, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Feel free to correct me in the comments, or editor Aqua can correct me on that. But that leaves a lot of questions open about her semblance, which, again, we'll get to later in the prediction stuff. She also mentioned that she doesn't trust Ozpin.
Yes.
That he's not the man you think he is.
I trusted him once, too.
Mm-hmm. So,
what does she know?
Something like one of my first thoughts when I first watched this, and then some people in the Reddit also were saying this a little bit scattered, I think, is that I'm curious if Ozpin, or at least Raven thinks that Ozpin had some cause of Summer's death. And that was just like, all right, you killed one of my teammates, or one of my teammates died for you. And, we still have this menace that like what you planned didn't work. And you're down like one of my best friends or something,
We do know that Ozpin's plans don't necessarily seem to go the way he expects them to.
Not necessarily his own fault, though, because he can't really, he can't account for...
We'll just blame Crow's weird bad luck semblance.
Or Ironwood wanting to murder everything with giant robots.
I still like him. We spent all of Volume 3 expecting him to be the big bad, and then being like, oh, well, no, okay.
A little bit, yeah.
He's just half robot man. It's fine.
I forgot about that. Yeah, he's okay.
I mean, between his, like, angry entrance in the opening sequence and, like, the end of Volume 2 with, like, his, you had your chance, Ozpin, blah, 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 like... He was very nicely being set up to be, like, the big bad going in, and then it was like, nope, it's fine.
Yeah, that's what the show is, just like, oh, you thought we were doing this? Okay, no.
I wonder if sometimes they sit in the subreddit and they, like, find the most common theory and then do the opposite.
I don't think so. I feel like these are some of the story beats that have been planned out for a long time. Yeah.
Nope.
It's just so mind-blowing that, we have this huge community of stuff, and then things can still be happening that, like, nobody was expecting.
Maybe I'll just start doing that now. I'll just go into the subreddit and find the most common thread and then declare the opposite, and so when it happens, it looks like I'm being insightful.
Everyone just thinks you're insane, and then it happens like, oh.
I must have some sort of insight. It's like, no, we're just always wrong. That's what the takeaway here is.
It's very true. So then Raven is like, well, if you're not going to join me, we're done here. Take her away. And then Yang says, damn it. Oh, boy. First kind of swear by a main cast character. And something I thought was interesting that they said is like, watch your mouth around our leader. And I was thinking about it a little bit. And I feel like in this society, swear words would actually be like very not used because, that's negative emotions are usually associated with those words. And so if you're using those words, you have negative emotions, grammar coming in.
That's a good point. It could be profanity is especially taboo in this society.
So yeah, I was thinking about it because it's like, is there a reason that they wouldn't be swearing this? Because, like, of course, the show, they want it to be like mostly family friendly and everything. And now we have like even a word like damn it being like very like,
how dare you?
Yeah. It's a lot more. What is the word I'm looking for?
Impactful.
That'll work.
There you go.
It just makes it's a much more bigger deal than it would be otherwise.
And it's just damn it. It's not like she was like, "You fucking whore, get down here," like that. It's like that's not what happened. It was just like
said it to her mom. Holy shit. That would be really funny.
That'll be in the blooper reels.
Oh my god. I can just imagine
just ad-lib angry things that you would say to Raven.
I just imagine, well, now they have that big old booth and it's like we fit 4 people in, so I imagine like Yang and Anna like in there together and just
and Barbara really maybe the original line was like, "Hey, just, like, you fucking whore," and then like Barbara just could not say it to Anna Holm, like just like, "No, this is just wrong."
That too, yeah. It's like I'm yelling at the CEO's wife right now. This is not. I don't think this is okay.
Well, I've never met, and I don't even think I follow her on Twitter. I understand she's a lovely individual. So.
Oh yeah. Anyway. So that happens, and then Yang's like, "Okay, I'm gonna just take on literally everybody here." And something is like she looks like a little bit worried.
We get
at first
moment of red eyes.
Yes, that too. When Raven first says like take her away, and the bandits start coming and circling her, she looks around like kind of like worried almost. But then it seems
this is also not according to plan. She probably thought that this was going to work and that she would just continue on her way. And frankly, I was a little worried that was going to happen, and we were going to have this complete tease of Yang and Weiss are going to get back together, and then Yang would just like jump in a portal and peace off, and it would be like,
"That was gonna happen." If that had happened, I've just been like, "I'm done." Like this is like this giant build up to nothing. But,
I was really worried. Like there were a couple moments in the episode where it's like, "Oh my god, they're going to do that, aren't they?"
But she looked a little bit worried at first, but it seemed to be after like when she like started yelling again, and then red eyes moment and everything. It seemed that she was more worried that like she wasn't getting her way, rather than there's a bunch of people about to attack me. She's like, I don't care. Like, I can take on all these guys. Like, no worries. Like, just like, hello. Like, give me what I want.
She is still her take no shit sarcastic self. Aren't you stubborn? I get it from my mom.
Interestingly, that was also like a little bit interesting because like Ty talked about like how she has like headstrong angers quickly and everything, and up until now she had been fairly calm. Like she's obviously hiding a lot of rage.
Oh yeah.
And other emotions. But she just like, negotiations are breaking down. Her first thing is get mad. So she's not entirely a different person. And she was like, she got mad, make me.
We've pushed her pretty far though at this point.
Oh yeah. I mean, it makes total sense. It's just like that side of her is still very much there.
Yes.
And so she punches a dude into a tent, probably like 40 feet or so. It's a good punch.
Which causes all of the other bandits to freeze. It's not like they came rushing in to join the fray. They just kind of went, oh shit.
I don't think people are generally that just brute strength, even in this world. Like if they are, they're like these huge people. This is like, 5'4" girl comes in and just punches a dude just like way harder than she has any reason. And based on the bruising
of the other people, it may be that these folks don't necessarily have activated auras.
Probably not. So that's going to hurt a whole lot.
No bloody lip, though.
No, still not. But we do see a little bit of Weiss in the background, just kind of,
whose hands are no longer tied.
His hands are no longer tied. I mean, I was curious about this because she's like, Yang? And it's like, you've been hearing this motherfucker yell this entire time. It's Yang here. But apparently she doesn't.
May still not be entirely expecting it.
I was kind of thinking, it's like, there's no way.
Hear there's just content.
No way. Yeah.
She's been hearing yelling and is probably curious what's going on. Meanwhile, little mini White Knight is hacking away at the bars, getting us ready to leave. And then Kara gets this beautiful line of, all right, well, sold, he is out.
And then we get a giant knight.
Which, again, Weiss has incredible control of her glyphs, even without her sword.
Yeah. Well, at least summoning.
At least summoning. But
which is pretty important.
It wasn't, we could only make a tiny knight in our hands. It was, no, we are specifically making a tiny knight for stealth, and, well, now we're just going to crush everyone.
Now I'm just going to make it as big as it can. And I'm assuming this is as big as it can get, because this is about the size of it that it was in the white trailer.
That could be it. It scales up accordingly.
So, hey, it's really cool to see the full giant knight in, the Maya engine and on Wise's side. Like, that's still such a cool thing to see after, the white trailer, and then 3 years later we get, oh, she can kind of summon this dude, maybe. And then it's like, no, she can just do it now.
And then Yang's like, what is that?
Yeah,
he's like, later, we'll talk later.
I'm guessing that's on our side. It's really big. But then as soon as they're like, okay, let's go fuck up the camp, lightning happens.
Yes.
Which is like, oh. And nobody seems to really react to it, which I can kind of understand, because it's like, oh, like maybe like we don't know these people's semblances or whatever. Like, this isn't necessarily like, or use dust or whatever. This isn't necessarily like out of the realm of possibility. It's a little weird.
Sudden thought. Are we going to, in this Volume C, Vernal attack Nora and it just not work?
I really hope so. I feel like there's some foreshadowing. Like, the fact that they mentioned her getting struck by thunder or lightning, and then we see lightning in the same episode.
Thursday.
I feel like there's something there. Because that was one of my first thoughts as well. I didn't write it down, but that was my first thoughts.
That'll be great.
So yeah, everyone's like, okay, let's go fuck him up. And also the whole indirection of, your mom kidnapped me. You kidnapped her? This
was almost classic Yang. Like, we saw just for a moment irritable Yang from like Volume 1 shine through of like, what's your problem with my sister? It's like, you kidnapped her?
Yeah. And it's also just like, what? She seemed like really just like, why? Like, how do...
And Yang is the most confused. She drops her guard a little of like...
I think in that moment, Yang is the most confused person in the entirety of Remnant.
It's like, what is happening?
It just didn't make any sense to... Either Weiss or Yang at that point is like, what the fuck are you doing here? That's your mom. Why is your mom... I don't... And Yang's just like, why did you take her?
Plot. Plot is the reason.
Pretty much at the end of the day.
Yep.
So yeah, after that, things go pretty well, actually. Everybody gets disbanded because Raven's like, hey, we don't want Grim attacking the place, which makes for really convenient negotiations. If you just cause a disturbance and you're just like, oh, wait, we can't do this, then you know what? Everything's going to work out for you.
You just up the profanity a bit and everything. It's like, whoa.
It's like,
There's no need for that language here.
So, yeah, then they're like, hey... If you're going to go after sister, we got some talking to do. Which...
Join me in my tent.
That's exciting. Because they're going to learn all about the maidens and everything with Ozpin and all that stuff that we just learned.
With a very different political slant.
Oh, yeah. And, this is two people who, like, have had no inkling of anything of this going on. Like,
oh, yeah.
It was very sudden for Ranger as well when they found out, as well as Pyrrha. But I'm really interested to see their reactions of things, because I know Yang still could just be like, I don't care, just give my sister, this is all crazy, I'm gonna do whatever I can.
But if Raven presents all of this as Ruby being actively in danger, then Yang and Weiss may go busting in and break up Ranger's little party and effectively be at odds with their mission, because it's entirely possible that whatever Raven says to them will convince them that Ozpin is in the wrong, Ruby is in danger, and as soon as they find out Oscar is actually Ozpin, they may take aggressive action to try to stop him.
Yeah, I could see that, perhaps.
Because Yang is motivated by protecting Ruby.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point, actually.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see. I don't think Yang is going to be wavered by it. That's my thoughts on the matter.
So there's also the trick of the Raven may speak her piece, and Yang may say this is all complete nonsense, the maidens are a fairy tale, all of this is fake, I don't believe you, this is just more of your lies, let me go to Ruby.
Mm-hmm.
We teleport over, Ruby starts explaining what's going on. And we're now hearing all of this again, only everything Raven just told you was true, but Raven also said it with this element of, don't trust Ozpin, he's going to get all of you killed.
Mm-hmm.
And so suddenly we're getting independent confirmation, and we're now believing everything Raven said, including Ozpin can't be trusted.
Yeah, that's possible. Conveniently, they have a maiden there to showcase the powers, so they can prove that much at least.
Yeah.
Everything else is just, conjecture. And I'm sure Yang's going to be like, this, Raven's trying to convince me to come to her side, because I feel like Raven's going to be the one to, like, spin it as hard as she can.
Yeah.
Because I feel like she's done the same with Vernal as well, when, she first ran away.
It's not gonna stick the first time, but it may be a problem the second time.
So yeah, I'm really curious to see what these two's reaction is going to be. I have a feeling what's going to happen is that they're going to get clued in, fuck off to Ruby, and then Cinder and her gang are going to come in to the camp. Or Cinder and their gang are going to come into the camp just before they leave, which is also pretty likely.
Or Cinder and the gang have already been to the camp, and it's going to be kind of the
Because who cares about the timeline?
Well, who cares about the timeline?
Linearity.
What?
I don't know.
But it could also be a bit like we saw in Volume 3 with Cinder and the gang had visited the White Fang while Blake was there, and Blake didn't know. And so it may be that they're already there, they were already talking with Raven, maybe they're in the tent with Raven right now, and we're about to walk in on that with Yang and Weiss.
That'd be a thing. And Neo's there for no reason.
Such a thing.
I really hope.
Well, that's why we didn't hear them. Just Neo's in there sitting quietly.
And of course, the last thing in the episode, we have the hug, which
yes, we do,
is like one of my favorite things in the entire series. Because
I'm pretty sure the entire fandom, at least for a moment, was shipping Freezerburn. Like, just you could not. Like between the Weiss's physicality of her hand over her heart, like having this like almost collapsing moment, dropping her weapon and then just throwing herself at Yang, and Yang being like, what are we doing? And it's like, oh hi, and the music comes in, and it's not crappy after school special music, like just.
And Yang's like, wait, happiness can be a thing too.
Yeah, and again, we again have a brief moment of seeing old Yang of like, hi, this is fine. I missed you too. We're gonna get the gang back together. Mm-hmm. And then the episode ends and just everyone goes.
that was just too adorable.
Oh my god!
Like I cried a little bit, just a little bit. I did.
Manly tears.
I just like couldn't believe it's like, because I mean that's again like talking about just personality and stuff. That's like such a stark contrast to Weiss that we've seen so far.
Oh yeah. And again,
so
just
much
shows
sense because she's been through so much.
Yes,
at this point.
it shows how much she's been hurting and has been isolated, and how much being on Team RWBY has meant to her. And just she's gone from being kidnapped and held hostage and trying to figure out the best way to escape, and now, oh my god, Yang is here. Oh my god, I need a hug. It was just like, this is great. This is so good.
And it's moments like these that show how far these characters have actually come and like have changed. Because again, like in a lot of shows, like you'd have Weiss just still being like, it's good to see you, I guess, whatever. But no, she's just like, no, fuck it, I'm just going for it. Like she would have never dreamed of doing that in Volume 1.
She was very briefly like that when the fight was still on, but the second the fight was off and we get kind of that adrenaline drop.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like they've already been through war, so they know that not to drop their fucking guard. They've been. This is not something that's new to them at this point.
Nope.
And Weiss has got a giant knight on her side. She doesn't care.
Nope.
So yes, that was
so good.
One of the best things in this entire show so far, and like that makes me so excited to see the reunions of everybody else. I'm especially excited to see Blake and Yang because their relationship is
they're probably
really
not going to hug it out.
Point.
Yeah, they're that because there might be some slapping there.
We know how Blake feels about the whole thing. It's like I really miss everybody. I miss everybody so much. And like Yang's just like, fuck this bitch. She just fucking walked off, whatever, fuck. I have to save her, fuck her. But it could be like Yang knows her well enough that
you're going to attract the Grim.
Like, I feel like Yang might know Blake well enough at this point to be like, I understand, like, you got scared so you ran away. That's just like your response to things. But like, we're together now. We're gonna always be together or whatever. As Team Ruby's never gold party camp, come murder everybody. That's evil in the movie.
What?
You gotta murder Salem. I mean, you can't just not murder Salem.
No, I could not understand what you were saying. You suddenly went like...
Discord. Yeah, sorry, Discord.
I don't think that was Discord. I think that was you.
It'll pick up all of the
It was this King of the Hill.
A little bit. Once I process the audio, you guys will be able to hear it. It's just she can't right now because of things that I'm not going to get into because I could talk about it for another hour, but I'm not going to do that right now. We're talking about Ruby. And speaking of which, we're at the end of the episode, so now it's time for predictions. Hey! And I want to talk first about Raven's semblance because she seems to know a lot about what's going on about people. Like, she was able to just, in Volume 2, she knew the Yang was in danger, and she was able to come in and save her, no problem. Like,
yep.
And how did she know she was there? Her semblance. I feel like her semblance, because we also talked about semblances evolving in this episode, which is really exciting to hear about as well, because that means at least next volume we'll be getting some like evolution of semblances and stuff. I'm hoping Jean's gonna get a semblance.
Maybe Jean will even get one.
Maybe eventually. I had a brief theory about him not just straight up not having a semblance, but I've kind of thrown that out. But I'm curious if Raven's semblance can also not just be like fully physically, like she doesn't have to physically go all the way through a portal, but if she can also just like spy on people that she has.
And whatever connection she needs to establish with them, it may be that she can feel when there is a problem.
Or that, yeah, that was my other thing. It's like there's some kind of like, because it's semblances through the souls or blah, 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 whatever, has emotions and everything, and they wave emotions. So she could possibly be able to pick up emotional differences through their aura, which is possible, which I would assume is what she's like imprinting on, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
So she at least has some way of knowing that when people are in distress. So I'm very curious if we're going to hear more about that and like how exactly her semblance works, because it's very interesting.
And who else she's tagged to? Because I somehow doubt that there's only 3 people on speed dial.
For certain. Do we know if Cinder or Salem knows about her semblance?
We don't know if Cinder or Salem terribly knows about her. I mean,
yeah. How did they found it through Crow? Yeah, because they had no idea where Vernal was for the entirety of the time of.
Yeah.
Like, because even Salem didn't know where she went. So, that's interesting. That's
wacky,
interesting.
fun times ahead.
Because also, Cinder comes here. It's like, also we're looking for, Ruby Rose. She's gonna be like, I just portaled to her. So I'm curious, like, what's going to come of that, if anything, because Raven's going to be the next lead. And you better believe they're not going to be too, heartbroken about, like, torturing her or something of the sort to get the information out of her. Or just beating the ever-loving shit out of her. Oh, she hasn't made no decide, so that's
there's also another variable here, which, I guess this is my future prediction. In theory, we were ransoming Weiss, which means we may have already sent that message to Atlas of, hey, we have Weiss being held hostage, send money or else.
Because snail mail.
Yep. And so if Weiss and Yang go off on their merry way to go find Ruby, what are they gonna do? Send a retraction notice? Like, oh, never mind. Not ransoming anymore. Please don't send troops.
Yeah, I'm curious if that news is actually going to reach all the way there, because there are still, I mean, I'm guessing none of them have a scroll, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because they're, bandits.
Yeah.
So they probably don't have any sort of long-range communication at all, unless just Raven has a scroll that she has for messengers or something, which is entirely possible.
But Raven also has this magic portaling, and for all we know, she knew Ironwood and is going to portal into his office, drop a ransom note off, and then portal back. Like, there's a lot of options here, but there's a good chance that we've already issued a ransom, and now we're about to lose the hostage.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see where that goes, because I mean, if Winter hears about that, she's gonna, want to go off to there and end up in the middle of a maiden fight or something. But
or Cinder's team, Cinder's team showing up, Ruby showing up, Weiss ain't there. Like,
so
we're probably gonna see this camp again. This is probably not a one and done set.
And we have to, because we have 2 other groups coming here. So, well, possibly. I mean, we have. Crow.
Assuming Crow wasn't lying.
Yeah. So I'm saying so a lot. I'm just trying to gather my thoughts here. For next episode specifically, I think we'll see. I don't even know, really. It's just so many ways we can go with this. We'll probably see more of Blake's storyline. I'm not really sure where that's going. I'm guessing they're going to be gathering forces to go to Haven. That's probably not going to be going too well. They're still kind of far behind in the timeline when we last talked to them.
Were they a month or 2 months behind? I guess they were 2 months behind. Yeah.
Which is technically 1 month, I think, because Crow, I think, said at some point that there was 1 month, or maybe it was Ozpin that said there was 1 month.
Yeah, Ozpin said it was 1 month until school started, and
so
then
they were a month behind
where
Ozpin was at that point. So I think they were just a month behind. We're probably going to get caught back up in that time, and then they're going to start heading off to Haven soon, because I'm assuming the entirety of Team RWBY is going to get back this season, because I don't want the opening to lie to me.
Do you really want them running full speed at a giant Salem?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't. I saw somebody just randomly, they had a thing. It's like, oh, is Salem's semblance growing big? And it's like, you tried, buddy. I appreciate the effort. But yeah, so it'll be, I'm assuming more Blake. I'm assuming more Yang and Weiss. And Ranger might get a little cut out.
Probably no Ranger.
I bet there's going to be...
That's fine.
Evil Team, yeah. I bet there's going to be Evil Team as well.
There you go. I want them to be in the tent. Now that I've said it, I really want them to just be in the tent.
I'm assuming
kind of sitting there going,
like,
hello.
Next episode is going to open up with Team Evil or whatever, Team Crime. What is there? Crime was with Roman. I don't know, whatever. Evil Team. Salem's faction, and then cut to Weiss and Yang in the tent and getting the explanation. And then we'll go to Blake, or we'll start with Blake. And it's something, those 3 things are happening in some order. That's what I'm calling. That's all I got. Crazy thing about this is Yang met her mom on the 4th episode.
So next week is the Extra Life stream, so we may get a World of Remnant instead.
Yeah,
we may not actually get an episode next week.
Probably not. We're gonna get some good information, I'm sure, because all of the information we're getting now is okay, so we're in the 5th year of the show, right? Mm-hmm. We're still getting pretty big reveals about stuff.
It's a big world.
It is, but that's the thing. It's a fully fleshed out world, and we're just slowly learning about it, which is amazing. It's so cool that we're still getting these huge reveals this far down the line, and I'm sure we're going to get more in the future. But it's just, again, most shows just don't do this.
It's so good.
It's so good. So fleshed out, and there's so much stuff in the world, and everything is just connected in ways that you wouldn't even think of, and Ozpin's 1,000 years old, and I still can't get over that. I really can't. I can't, because I was always a proponent of as soon as he said I have been tried to more women and made mistakes, more men, women, and child, and all Remnant, I was like, that dude's 1,000 years old, of course, he's thousands of years old, whatever. And just ha ha ha.
Did you really just kind of flub the line with I've been tied to more women? It's what?
I don't even know what I said. I fucked it up, and I kept fucking it up, and I kept trying not to fuck it up, but I got there eventually.
Either way, we can all agree that we are not shipping Ruby and Oscar.
No.
Because creepy.
I'm not. That's, yeah. I was thinking about that as well. And it's like, Ozpin has to have had this occur before. Because, I mean, I don't know what his average lifespan is in any of his bodies. But if the dude's been around thousands of years, that means at least, like, what? Like, hundreds of hosts? That's not right.
No. Maybe like.
And we don't know how many thousands.
800.
So it could be like 8,000 or 3,000, which
This is true.
varies it wildly. But he's been through this process a decent few times.
I mean, we do have the comment of a like-minded soul, so it could be that Ozpin only bonds with people who like don't want kids or something. I don't know.
Is there just asexual, aromantic?
It could be. It could be.
It's possible.
I mean, that might.
Yeah. We'll just have to see. Ozpin surely doesn't care either way and is just gonna punch Ruby in the face, or like bash her with his head.
Yes.
So yeah, you think I'm adorable? Works. Here, eat this. Poof. How adorable am I now, bitch? See,
we don't use that language. It will bring the grim.
Just imagine Oscar like fucking do that shit. Oh god.
I want all future like bleeping of the show to be just with like a grim overlaid over the person's mouth.
That's a Ruby Chibi thing. There you go.
There we go.
It's like Nora's just go crazy one day.
Of course it would be Nora.
Probably.
We'll see the flashback to her getting struck by lightning, and then she'll
Or
just
Cinder.
go, "Oh fuck!"
I'm curious. Oh boy, I'm curious if Ruby Chibi is gonna update outfits ever or not, but
Probably
anyway,
not.
Probably not.
Nothing ever goes wrong.
Do you have any more predictions to add or theories or anything?
I don't think so. I mean that's kind of my big one right now. Of that ransom probably already got delivered, so we'll.
I hadn't even thought about that either.
We'll see how that goes.
But I think that will do it for this video. Apologies for last video being like, I mean, it was a day late, but it's not going to be very edited at all. So sorry about that. There's a lot of stuff going on right now that I had to take care of first. So, but hopefully this one I should be able to get up no problem, and it'll be nice like usual. So there you go. Anyway, thank you for joining me, Rebkos.
Of course.
As always. And I hope that you enjoyed. As always, leave comments down below of your own theories, anything that you think we got wrong, or just anything.
I don't want to hear what we got wrong. I want to hear how great we are.
Or how great we are. Exclusively how great we are.
Tell us what we got wrong.
Tell us we're amazing in the comments below. Well, exclusively.
Okay, do that too.
That's all we want to
hear. Tell us what we got wrong.
Going the opposite way.
Shame us! Shame us on the internet!
But I hope you enjoyed the video.
Bring the grim to the comment section.
And I hope you're enjoying the show as much as we are. And that'll be it for this week. Bye-bye.
Bye.